Hi everyone, I'm Hayley. I'm always in the craft room and welcome to another Friday Sews, the wonderful hashtag started by Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room, where we have a cup of tea today and a little catch up about what has been going on. So I've been a good vlogger lately and I have been making loads of things and recording them all for you. So I don't want to go through everything that I've made since last we did a Friday Sews because I think it will be boring and a bit repetitive. But I have got a quick list here, so I will just let you know it was basically 4 of the same t-shirt, a load of knickers with the scraps, and 2 accidental coordinating sets. I tried to make a jumpsuit. It didn't work, but I ended up with 2 garments from it. And then I also made yet another pair of Vogue cargo trousers, but without the cargo pockets. And from the scraps, I managed to make a Pattern Scout flora top, thereby making a little accidental coordinating set. So if you click on my channel name and look back through all the videos, you will see anything that you're interested in. I will do a roundup at the end of spring of everything that I've made because I like to talk through how it's worn and whether it was everything that I hoped it would be. So that brings us straight onto alterations, doesn't it? Because yeah, there's always some to be done. Apart from those new things, that's mainly what I've been doing, working my way through the pile of clothes that just needed some little tweaking. And the first one has been waiting in the craft room since before Christmas, and I will tell you why, because what I am working on now is a Sinclair Patterns Harper cardigan. I just wanted a little throw and go navy cropped cardigan. I went in the stash and pulled out a really snuggly sweater knit. I think they call it Arctic fleece, where on the back it's all soft, like a true sweatshirt. Oh, love it. Anyway, I cut out the Harper and then I had some left over. And if you've been watching this channel for a while, you might know I've been waiting for a remnant of navy sweater knit to fix my paper cut patterns Anima pants. So I made these trousers last autumn and I made an egregious error. I used a really strange knit, to be honest. They have been hanging around in my stash for probably a decade. And at the time, I couldn't put my finger on what was weird about it. But as soon as I started wearing the finished trousers, I worked out what it was. It only stretches in one direction, not two. It's got absolutely zero, and I mean zero, which is really rare, with a knit fabric stretch up and down. And I used a pattern designed for full waist stretch, and I shortened both the rise and the waistband on these trousers because in my previous versions it came up much too high. The overall result of these 3 changes, shortening rise, waistband, and using something that didn't stretch north and south, is quite predictably trousers that were far too low and uncomfortable. So I took the waistband off ages ago and was waiting for a scrap of navy to make a new, much deeper full waist stretch waistband. I cut one out. You can tell it's slightly different navy, but they're sweatpants. They're not exactly my best going out trousers. Do you know what I mean? I'm happy to wear these on the school run and on a work from home day, which is exactly what they were intended for. The reason I'm not showing you the front is that I pulled these out of the washing basket because I got chocolate all down the front. So yeah, can someone tell me why? In October, we flood our children with sweeties that don't melt, and then they're eating them literally the whole winter. And then as soon as the weather goes nice, we give them a load of chocolate Easter eggs that are now the bane of my existence because they're just melting everywhere. Yeah, anyway, that's what that's all about. So I have mended these. They are now fit to wear again, and I am so pleased to get these in the wardrobe because, yeah, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know I love navy and I love sweatpants. So they're an absolute winner. Talking of navy and trousers, I have got some mending to do. These are some linen trousers that I made last year. I love them. I've worn them absolutely loads, and you can tell because they've started to come undone. It's not the zip, it's the seam up to the zip. So I put an invisible side seam zip in, and the seam below, you know where you have to stop stitching? It started to fail. So stitching time saves 9 and all that. I need to go in and sort that out before it gets worse. And then I think what I'll do, just to take strain off that seam, is where I've got the invisible zip here, I'm going to sew some stitches like into the seam allowance. The seam allowance is pressed open. So if I just sew a line of stitching on the zip and off the zip, all on the seam allowance, I think that will just help to take the strain off as this is going up and down. So the pattern for these, I kind of cobbled together myself. It is the waistband of New Look 6035 and basically the legs of the swim style Carlet loungewear pant, but hacked quite a bit because that is a knit pattern. And if you've ever seen footage of me wearing these, and I'm sure you have because I use it all the time because I love these trousers and I love the top that I happen to be wearing when I modelled these. So I do end up inserting it in quite a lot of vlogs. You will know there's too much fabric at centre back here. Looks fine now, but on, I just get a little ridge there that needs taking out. I have altered the paper pattern, and when I made a second pair of these trousers in the same linen in a different colour, I removed literally just 1 centimetre across the centre back here, and it made all the difference. Anyway, since I'm going in and mending these, I am just going to fix it on this pair. It won't be a big job, I don't think. So yeah, while they're in the craft room, I'm gonna just take a centimetre out there because I love these trousers. I wear them all the time, and I am conscious that they're not perfect. And we're not aiming for perfect, but small incremental improvements is always good. And since I've got them here, I'm just going to get that done. Speaking of small improvements, who recognises the top that I'm wearing? This is a top I crocheted. It is the Ruby Webs Ellery sweater, and I just left off the sleeves to make it a summer top. But I've made the Ellery before, a teal version. I love it. The only thing I don't like about it is that the construction method is such that the front and back necklines are identical. You make it in the round, and yeah, when you fold it in half, front and back necklines are the same. You wouldn't really see that in a knit t-shirt pattern, would you? I find that the front neckline is too high and the back neckline kind of slips backwards. So when I made this version, I tried to fix that. And I tried to fix that by, at the back, doing a few rows backwards and forwards first, then starting in the round to raise the back neckline. And I didn't love the effect. In fact, first, editing Hayley, insert footage of how it looked when it was finished. It wasn't a great success because the back neckline bubbled. Where I had done the front and back, like forwards and backwards extra rows, they just stood out, and yeah, it wasn't a good look. Well, recently I have had a sore throat. You can probably tell my voice still isn't 100%. I feel absolutely fine again. It's just taking a while to come back. Anyway, as I was sitting on the sofa feeling sorry for myself, I wanted something to do with my hands that was not at all taxing, like no counting, no moving stitch markers, no keeping track of things. And I had a few scraps of this left, and you can see what I made, a cotton round, except how fancy am I? This isn't a cotton round. This is a cotton and silk round because this delectable yarn is a cotton silk mix. How dreamy is that? So I just sat on the sofa crocheting a circle, which I can do without a pattern and without much thought, and also without a stitch marker. So when I was finished, this cotton round wasn't nice and flat. It was a bit curled up because I think I'd got my stitch count slightly wrong. Anyway, I was looking at the curled up little round and I thought, I wonder if blocking it will help. For those of you who don't sew or knit, blocking is when you soak a finished project and then lay it out to dry and shape it exactly how you want it to end up, and then you let it dry in that shape. For those of you who are knitters and crocheters, you're probably laughing at me now because this is the first thing I've ever blocked in my life. I know. And by blocked, I mean I ran it under the kitchen tap and then I lay it on the kitchen worktop and went, flattened it, walked off. Anyway, I came back and it was perfectly flat and my mind was blown. Who would have thought that generations of knitters and crocheters who went before me knew what they were talking about when they said you should block everything? I don't know. No, actually, I do know why I skipped that step. The reason I've never blocked a garment is because I'm always worried it will ruin it. I'm worried it will shrink it or stretch it out, and then I will have put all this effort in and I will never get to wear it. So when I finished this top and I liked it, I just wore it. I didn't like the back neckline, so I wore it with my hair down. Anyway, when I saw what a miraculous effect blocking had on this, I wondered if it would fix my back neckline. Would you like to see if it worked? So I just dampened this whole top in the bath, and then I laid it out on a sunny afternoon on my cutting table. I dragged the cutting table so that it was half in, half out of the craft room and in the sunshine, because I didn't want to use an outside table because, you know, white top, and I thought it might get dirty. Anyway, let's give you the full 360. I know. I love this top anyway, but now I can wear it with my hair up. I'm so pleased. I will say, blocking it was a bit stressful. I was worried it was gonna change the garment. I don't know if it has. I'm not really sure. I do know that the back neckline now looks fantastic. The other thing that was nerve-wracking about it was leaving it out completely flat in the sunshine. I was so worried a bird was going to poo on it. Now, I'm a Brit. I hang all my washing out to dry all summer long. Like, the first sunny drying day, as we call them, is like a highlight of my year. And I've never worried about the birds pooing on my washing. I suppose on a washing line, for a bird poo to actually land on the washing line, you know, it's very narrow. But it's also never happened. And I've dried thousands of loads of washing outside. But the whole day that this was there drying, I was like really worried. Anyway, happy to report no birds pooed on it, and I absolutely love the finished result. Another garment that I needed to alter, I showed you in my spring decluttering video when I went through all of my spring summer clothes and talked about what I loved and what I didn't. And I showed you this blouse, which caused me a problem because it was never quite long enough to tuck in. Anyway, you all had some absolutely wonderful suggestions for me, one of which was just to add a hemband because I do have more of this fabric left. Well, I was sitting there thinking, how would I go about adding a hemband to this? The first thing I would need to do is let down the existing hem. Yes. When my top was too short, why didn't I think about letting down the existing hem? I have no idea. Anyway, we've had some gorgeous weather here in the UK, which is what I need to unpick black stitches on black fabric. So I've let down the hem and I have gained at least an inch. So I may not even need to add a hemband. That said, I've got it down, I've got it started. The machines are not threaded black, so I won't be carrying on with this until they are. And honestly, it's just not been the weather to wear it. So that is in progress, but staying in the alterations pile. And the last thing I have altered recently is my children's school uniform. So at my children's school, on the days that they have PE or games, they go in their PE kit and they wear it all day with trainers, which I actually love. This is like such a mum problem to have, but if they only wear their trainers or plimsolls, as we call them, for PE and leave them at school, then you have to buy a pair of shoes that just live at school and get worn for like 2 hours a week. And by the time they come back to you in the summer holidays, they're barely worn, but also too small. Instead, they wear trainers 2 days a week, school shoes 3 days a week, and all of their shoes get equally worn out and grown out at the same time. And I love it. So thank you to whoever came up with that system. So on games or PE days, my kids wear leggings and a school hoodie, but with the weather warming up, leggings are a bit hot. And one of my girls came to me and said, "Mama, I've got a hole in my leggings." Well, we all know what's happening to those. I turned their PE leggings into cycling shorts. It was such an easy job. I just measured their inseam to where I wanted the shorts to go, cut the legs off, and then hem them on my cover stitch. Now, a couple of pairs had holes in the knee, and they were at a point where I wanted that fabric incorporated into the garment, if that makes sense. I didn't want to cut off where the hole was, because then when I turned a hem, the shorts would be shorter than I wanted. So here was my hack. And bear in mind, these shorts only have to last a matter of weeks now before the kids break up for summer, and they will have grown out of them by next year. So it's literally, they just need to last 4 weeks. So what I did was I worked out the length that I wanted the shorts to be finished, and then I added what I wanted as a hem allowance on, and then I looked where the hole was, and then I made the hem allowance long enough that when I turned the hem up, the hem underneath covered the hole in the fabric, if that makes sense. And then I fused on the wrong side of the hole. I just got some fusible knit interfacing, fused it over it to close the hole. And then when I turned the hem under, it was like reinforced with a new bit of fabric, and I cover stitched around. And honestly, once I had done that, I couldn't even find the holes. I will insert a photo to show you what I mean, because I'm not sure if I explained that very well. But yeah, a quick job done and some garments saved from probably landfill, let's be honest. I do send all my fabric to be recycled, but who knows where it actually ends up. So I'm glad to have got a bit more life out of those, and now I don't have to buy shorts that they would only wear for a few weeks. They may well wear shorts in September, because we often do have beautiful weather here in the UK in September. But either way, what I have done will last them for the rest of this summer. I also have one new pattern to show you. If you watch my spring plans video, you will know I've got a few cuts of beautiful lightweight summery fabrics that I would like to make blouses from. And I've been umming and ahhing over what pattern to buy. You know me, I like to agonize over everything. Anyway, I hadn't yet bought a pattern. And then I was watching a So Frugal video, which I know that happened ages ago, but one came up in my feed. I watched it and someone recommended this pattern. It is the Atelier Scammy Déclic pattern, and I'm pronouncing that like it's French, but there's actually an umlaut on the A, so it's not French, so please excuse me. And it's pretty much exactly what I'm looking for, except I would like a gathered back yoke. But that seems like an easy hack, to just separate the back into 2 pieces, add seam allowances, stretch the lower back apart, add gathers. In my mind, that's really easy, but I'll probably vlog it to give you a laugh. Anyway, as you can see from what I've highlighted, I have cut out a European size 40, which is a UK size 12. And I wondered if anyone has used Atelier Scammy and if you have any tips for me on sizing, because I'm at the point in my sewing career now where I can look at a pattern piece and know if it's not going to fit. I'm not saying I can tell when a pattern piece is going to fit, but I can look at them and go, no. So I'm going to stand up and show you. This is the front pattern piece, and the reason I haven't cut along here is that I need to do a square shoulder adjustment. In fact, while we're talking, please help, how do I do that on something without a shoulder point that's marked? So what I would normally do is go over to the shoulder point. So imagine this is a bodice with a set-in sleeve, and this is the shoulder point. I would mark 1.5 centimeters up from here, draw that across to the neckline, and then raise the armhole by 1.5 centimeters as well. You can see there's a little mark there because I went to do that, and then I realized, no, this isn't the shoulder point, this is down here because it has a kind of cut-on sleeve. So then I tried to work out where the shoulder point was from the pattern, and I think it's there at the start of the last pleat. So do I raise all of these by 1.5? Do I draw a line between those, work out a proportion, and then, do you know what I mean? This is why I don't like new patterns, because it takes me so long to get to the point where I'm even cutting out the fabric. Anyway, if you have any tips on a square shoulder adjustment on a pattern with cut-on sleeves, I would love to hear them. Do share them below. So this is the front bodice, and I do have a short torso, but that just looks massive to me. It's cut on the fold and it does have seam allowances included, but even so, just everything about it looks too big. I think that V is going to be much too low. I think the whole thing is going to be too long. So yeah. Sewing wise, I'm working on a Harper Sinclair cardigan. Pattern wise, I'm working on that. I will take 4 centimeters out as standard from the length. And then, yeah, when I work out how to do the shoulder thing, I've got some, how do I say it nicely? Cheap and nasty fabric that will be great for a toile. So you're all caught up now on everything that I've been working on. I'm not sure if all of the vlogs I have filmed will have gone live. So let me just take a minute to explain my working process, and just to let you know, I'm not like trying to deceive anyone if things come out in a different order. I tend to work on multiple projects at once, and that's because I sew in very short bursts. Sometimes I just have 10 minutes and I come over here, sew one buttonhole, and that's it for the day. And often when I'm over in the craft room, my kids are crafting with me or in and out. And if they are around, I don't like to have the iron on hot. So quite often I have a woven project on the go and a knit project, so that if they're with me, I can set the iron to like a synthetic setting and be pressing a polyester knit that just needs a really low temperature. I do not want to be like steaming linen when they're in here. So I've been filming loads of content over the last few weeks, and it will all come out in different orders as the garments themselves get finished, and then I have to put the vlogs together and edit them. So the timeline may be a bit skewed as compared to how it goes out on the channel. And I know that probably no one is paying that much attention, but I just wanted to say that may be why things appear in a strange order. If you've got this far, thank you very much for sticking with me. I am meeting a friend next week near Abercarn, so I will be doing some shopping. What I am specifically looking for is a jersey knit to make a jumpsuit. So you may have seen my vlog, which has already gone live, where I attempted to make a jumpsuit from McCall's 5794 and the Swim Style Carla loungewear pants. And I would still like to do that project. I just haven't got any knits that are suitable. So I'm going to be looking out for that next week. I also have a few haberdashery items I need, but it's really boring replenishing stuff like new Microtex needles, etc. So I'm excited for that. And you know, I will be back soon to show you exactly what I bought. I hope to see you then. Bye. I will insert line drawings of the picture. Line drawings of the picture. My earring's coming out.